Hello future nurses, welcome back to Easy Nurse, where nursing education made easy. So today we are going to take live about the sociology and psychology for your upcoming exam. Don't worry if you are prepared or not prepared, not a single matter. We are Easy Nurse team here to support you and guide you, right? So let's start today's live session about sociology and psychology. So after from previous year question paper, I collected some topics for providing you as a good score. Okay, so if you follow this Easy Nurse content or Easy Nurse live class, obviously you will be the good scorer in your academic classes. Okay, so let's start today's session. First we'll discuss about the sociology. Okay, so first is sociology. What do you mean by the sociology? Sociology is nothing but it is a systematic study related to the society, social institution as well as the social relationship. So which is mainly focused on the patterns of social behavior, interaction as the structures of the society. So that is called sociology. So based mainly it's nothing but it's a structure of a society, social institution as well as a social relationship. Okay, so now come to the scope. So what are the scopes are present in the sociology? In the social institution, like examines the structures like family, education, religion as well as the government. Next come to the social relationship. So under this studies interaction between individual and then groups. Now come to the social change. So in this social change they are mainly analyze the transformation in the society over time. So what are the changes that are happening in the society as per their mentality, as per their financial or poverty line, that also they are going to check. Now come to the social problems. So under this they are mainly investigating the issues like poverty, crime as well as the inequality. Now come to the culture and norms. So in this culture and norms they are explore the traditions, values as well as the social norms that shape the behavior of the individual. So these are the scope of sociology: social institution, social relationship, social changes, social problem as well as culture and norms. So now coming to the society. What do you mean by the society? It is a group of individual where the people they are sharing their common thoughts, their common ideas as well as the territory, culture and institutions which is interacting to form a cohesive social structure. So that is the meaning of society. So now come to the uses of sociology in the nursing profession. Why this sociology is important for our nursing profession, how it's related. So first coming to the understanding the patient behavior. So if you know about the society, so based on that you can behave, right? Suppose from which background the patient belongs to, what are their cultural values, what are their beliefs, what are their thoughts. So based on that you also can provide some health education as well as the care. So that's why understanding the patient behavior is also one of the most important topic. Now come to the improving the patient care. How you are going to improve patient care? By maintaining the sociology. It will help the supports culturally sensitive as well as the patient centered care. Now come to the enhancing communication. So which is mainly facilitates the effective interaction with the patient as well as the family members and collaborative team. Okay, now come to the public health awareness. So as a nurse or as a healthcare workers we have to address the social determinants as well as we have to promote the community health people by giving the awareness related the disease condition, how what are the things they have to do, what are the things they don't have to do. So this kind of awareness we have to provide. So it will be helpful to create some knowledge regarding that particular diseases, right? Now come to the ethical decision making. So it mainly guides the professional conduct and then societal healthcare issues. Now come to the teamwork and collaboration. So it's mainly strengthens the coordination in the multidisciplinary team. So if you know about this teamwork and collaborations, if you follow these rules, so obviously it will come as a collaborative teamwork, and for that you can resolve any kind of the problems and you can give the better intervention. Now come to the health policy insight. So which is mainly it's in understanding the policies as well as reducing the health inequalities. So health policy insight is nothing but with this health policy as a nurse you can able to treat each and every patient in the society or in the community as a equal basis. Okay. Now come to the mental health support. So which is considered the social factors in mental health as well as the holistic care approach. Okay, so these all are the uses of sociology in our nursing profession. So now come to the rights and responsibilities of the individual in a democratic society. Okay, so what are the rights are there for the human? Rights of individual, like right to freedom. So they have freedom to speech, they have freedom to expression, religion as well as the movement. Suppose as a nurse you are giving some medications or some planning some treatment, right? So as an individual they have right to ask you what is the action of that medication, why the nurse is going to administer this particular medication to that patient. Okay, so these kind of questions they have right to ask. As well as if someone suppose as a nurse you are providing some health care or health education to the patient, suppose they are not interested, so they have right to deny it, as well as they have right to show expression that they doesn't want that. Okay, now come to the right to equality, so which is mainly helpful for the protection which is against the discrimination based on race, based on religion, based on socio-economic factor, based on the gender, so that should not be present. Now come to the right to vote. So the participants in the elections and choose the representatives. Okay, so now to the right to justice. So right to justice is nothing but it's a assess the fair trials and then legal protection. Suppose as a nurse if you providing the wrong treatment to that patient, and for that if the patient is getting some problem, so at that time they have right to go for the right to justice action, and in between that they also going to involve you regarding with your registration number, and you also have to be answerable. Okay, so that is called right to justice. Now come to the right to education. So it's nothing but it's access to quality education for personal as well as the social developmental. Now come to right to privacy. So before doing the procedure you have to provide the proper privacy and comfort zone to the patient, because as a patient or as an individual they have right to asking their privacy first while doing the procedure. Okay, so protection from unlawful surveillance and intrusion. Now come to right to property, which is the ownership and use of the property under legal protection. Now come to the right to protection. So security and safety ensured, which is mainly enforce the law as well as the government. So these all are about rights of an individual. So now come to the responsibilities of an individual. So what are the responsibilities? First is respectful for the laws. So as an individual, what are the laws are present in our state government as well as the central government? It's our role to obey the laws and regulations to maintain as a orderly basis. Now come to the civic participation. So under this civic participation, the persons has like responsibility to vote, which is mainly helpful for engaging the community service and contribute to the society. Now come to respect of the others' right, which is mainly helpful the acknowledging as well as the upholding the rights of the fellow citizen. Now come to the tax payment. So it's mainly helpful to contribute the national development for the paying taxes. Now environmental protection. As a human being we have to protect our environment to live in a healthy environment, right? Now come to the promoting social justice. So under this we have to stand against the discrimination as well as the injustice. Now defending the nation, so we have to support and protect the national integrity as well as the security. Now is a being informed, so we have to stay educated about the social, political as well as the economic issue. So these all are the responsibilities for the individual of our society. So now coming to the social problems. What are the social problems? Social problems is nothing but it is an issue which is negatively affect the individuals as well as the society as a whole basis, and it is mainly arise from the social, economic, political as well as the cultural factors, and also it requires the collective efforts to address and resolve the problem. So now come to the examples. What are the social problem you can see in the society? That is poverty, lack of the access to basic needs like food, shelter, clothes, etc., as well as the healthcare. Now in unemployment, like high joblessness leading to the financial struggle for their family, right? Now come to the crime and violence. In this, juvenile delinquency is also one of the example, which is include the theft, then assaults and domestic violence, as well as the social inequalities. Now come to the illiteracy. Illiteracy is nothing but like lack of the education, sometimes due to socio-economic factor, sometimes due to other social inequalities or other reforms. Now come to the drug abuse. So in this, drug abuse is nothing but like substance addiction, which is mainly affecting the individual, family, as well as the community. Now is gender discrimination, which is mainly unequal treatment they are getting based on the gender, which is leading to the social injustice. So these all are the examples of the social problem in our society. So now come to the marriage. This is one of the most important questions for your exam, marriage, as a 5 marks or as a 10 marks, as a club question or as a single questions. Okay, so see, what is the meaning of marriage? Marriage is nothing but it's a legally as well as the socially, which is recognized union between the male and a female, so which is establishing the rights and responsibilities between them, their families, as well as the society. So it's nothing but it's a cultural institution which is varies across the societies and then religions. Okay, so that is the definition of marriage. So now coming to the types of marriage. Sometimes in 2 marks they will ask you define the types of marriage, as well as sometimes in 5 marks also they can ask you what is the marriage, explain the types of marriage. Okay, so see, types of marriage. First is the monogamy. So it's nothing but it's marriage between one man and one woman for 2 individual in modern concept. Okay, next coming to the polygamy. So polygamy is nothing but it's a marriage when one person has multiple spouses, further divided into polygyny and polyandry. Okay, so one person they are going to marry various persons, so that time it's called as a polygamy. So under this polygamy, it's 2 types, polygyny and polyandry. So polygyny is nothing but when one man is going to marry the multiple women, so that time it's called as polygyny, and polyandry when one woman going to marry the multiple men, so that time it's called as polyandry. Okay, now come to the endogamy. So endogamy is nothing but like marriage within a specific social culture as well as the religious group, means group marriage. Now come to the exogamy. Exogamy is nothing but when the marriage is considered outside of the one social culture as well as the religious group. So now come to the arranged marriage. Arranged marriage is nothing but when marriage is going to fixed from their family side as well as the third parties, so that time it's called as arranged marriage. And love marriage is nothing but when individuals choose their partners based on their mutual love as well as the consent. Now come to the civil marriage. Civil marriage is nothing but it's a legally recognized marriage which is performed by a government authority, means from the government authority they are selecting their spouses. Now come to the religious marriage, which is conducted according to the religious tradition and beliefs. So these all are the types of the marriage. So now come to the family. So same as like marriage, family also they can ask question, types of family, what is family. So the 5 marks as well as the 10 marks. This is also one of the most important questions. So family is a basic social unit which is consisting of the individuals who all are related with the blood, who all are related with the marriage as well as adoption. They are living together and having the strong emotional bonds and responsibilities towards one another. So that is called family. So types of family like nuclear family, parents and their children living together. Then extended family, which includes the relative like grandparents, uncles, aunts as well as the cousins. Now come to the joint family. Joint family is nothing but like multiple generation, means up to second generation they are living together under one roof, so that time it's called as a joint family. Now come to the single parent family, one parent raising children alone, like either mother or father. Now come to the blended family, so that is formed by the remarriage including step parents or the step siblings. Now come to the childless family, a couple without children by choice or circumstances. Now come to the foster or adoptive family, which is nothing but families raising the children who are not biologically their own child. Okay, so that is the types of family. So now come to the functions. So what are the functions of family? First is the biological function, reproduction, continuation of the family lineage. Next, economic function, which is providing the financial support as well as the resource sharing among the family members. Now come to the emotional education. Now come to the educational function. So under this they are going to value the teaching method, traditions as well as the social norms. Now emotional function. So under this providing love, care as well as the psychological support to the family members. Now come to the socialization functions. So where the teaching the children social behavior as well as the integrating them into the society. Now health and protective function. So under this they are mainly ensuring the physical as well as the mental well-being of the family members. So these all are the functions of family. So when you will study about this kind of the questions and answer, you just study about the point very clearly, and once or two times you just go through about the content, what it is written. So if you go through that content and if you know, or if you can understand what actually they wants to mean in the book or in the content, so you can write it by yourself. So just I am suggesting you take it out the point. Suppose functions of family means biological function, economic function, educational function. Like this way you have to make a note about the points, and based on the points you can write by your own self. Okay, I am not suggesting you just by heart all the definition, by heart all the content and just vomit it on your exam paper. No, you just take the point and write it on your own self. Okay, so now come to the caste system. So what is the meaning of the caste system? Caste system is nothing but it's a traditional social hierarchy when divides the people into the rigid hereditary parents based on the birth, occupation as well as the social status. So that is the meaning of caste system, and mainly it determines the social position, rights and duties, which is offering the restricted mobility between the caste. So caste system is also one of the most important questions. Frequently they are asking about the caste system, mainly advantage, disadvantage of the caste system. Okay, so what is the merits or advantage? Division of labor, which is mainly ensure the specialization in the occupation. Now come to the social stability, which is mainly provide a fixed social structure. Now cultural preservation. So under this it's mainly following the traditions as well as the skills which is passed through the generation. Now is the community support. So under this strong intra-caste relationship or social or economic support you can get. Then religious guidance, which is provide the ethical as well as the moral duties among the people. Next come to the self-governance, which is caste manage the internal affairs independently. So these all are the merits of the caste system. So now come to the demerits or disadvantage. Okay, that is social inequality, which is mainly lead to the discrimination as well as the untouchability concept among the people, right? Now come to the lack of mobility, so which is mainly restricted the movement between the caste. Means when you were suppose you were planning to marry one caste to another caste, sometimes from the family side it's coming problem, right? So that is the lack of mobility. Okay, now come to the occupational restrictions. So based on the caste also sometimes job opportunities is going to be limited outside from the one's caste. Next come to the division in the society, which is mainly created the barriers as well as it's creating the conflict between the caste. Now come to the suppression of the talent. So people could not able to choose the professional based on the ability. Now is the economic background, which is lower caste is mainly faced the poverty as well as the exploitation. So these all are about demerits of the caste system. Now come to the social change. So social change, which is refers to the transformation of societal structure, behavior and norms over time, and it can be gradual or sometimes rapid, which is driven by the various internal as well as the external factors. So that is the meaning of social change. So what are the factors it's going to affect the social change? First is the technology. So under this technology, like which is innovative, the reshape communication structure, work as well as the lifestyle, as example through the internet or through the artificial intelligence, right? Now come to the economy. So in this economy, like industrialization is going on nowadays as well as the globalization, shift to job markets and social classes is going on. So based on this kind of the trends, what happen, economy is going to be impacted. impacted. Now is cultural and then ideology, which is changing beliefs the influence law like gender equality as well as the LGBTQ plus rights. Okay, now come to the demographics. So in this demography, mainly they are restricting the population growth, aging as well as the migration, which is mainly impacting the demographic cycle of our community. Now come to the politics and then laws, which is government policies and legal, which is reform the social structure, and environmental changes like climate change as well as the natural disaster also sometimes is going to impact the social changes. Okay, so these all are about factors affecting social change. So now coming to the culture. So like social change, culture, these kind of questions they will ask you in the 2 marks questions mainly. Okay, so culture is nothing but it's a shared beliefs, shared values, your custom as well as the behaviors of a common group of people which is passed across the generation, as well as it's going to reshaping the identity as well as the social life of the individual. So that is the meaning of culture. Okay, so what is the characteristics of the culture? That is learned. Okay, so culture is required through the socialization, not inherited the biologically. Now is shared, so is a collectively practiced persons and it's going to transmitted within a society. Now is a dynamic, so culture involves the over time due to internal as well as the external influence. Now it is a symbolic, so in this symbolic like language, then gestures as well as the postures and objectives, which is mainly convey the culture meaning. So by your gesture, posture as well as the clothes or anything, you can assess like he or she is from under culture or lower culture or upper culture. Okay, so these are also symbolic language about the culture. Okay, now coming to the integration. So in this the integrated like different cultural elements like belief, tradition as well as the customs, which are going to be interconnected among each and other people. Now is the adaptation or adaptive. So cultural, it's help to adjust in the environmental, technological as well as the societal changes what is on going on as a trend in our society. Now come to the diverse. So in this diverse, different society and the groups have the unique cultural expression. So these all are about characteristics of the culture. Okay, now coming to the community. So community, it is a group of people who share a common geographical location, interest, values as well as the identity, and it's also going to interact with each other to fulfill their social, cultural and then economic needs. Okay, so there are different kind of communities there, like geographical community, which is mainly based on the physical location, as example village, city or the neighborhood. Next is the cultural community, which is mainly formed around the shared culture, which is ethnicity as well as the tradition, as example the indigenous group. Now come to the inter-based community. So in this inter-based community, which is mainly connected by the common interest as well as the common thoughts and activities, as example the online gaming communities. Now come to the professional community. So in this individual, they are going to sharing the same occupational things in among them. Okay, as example the medical association. Now is a religious community, which is mainly formed around the shared faith as well as the religious practice, as example the church, mosque as well as the temples. Now is a virtual community, so online groups which is interacting through the digital platform like social media, through the friend request or through the chat, so that is called virtual community. Okay, so these all are the types of the community. So now come to the juvenile delinquency. This is most important questions for the 2 marks or 5 marks, sometimes they will ask you. So juvenile delinquency is nothing but it refers mainly to the illegal as well as the antisocial behavior which is going to committed by the minors. Minors is nothing but who all are under the age less than 8 years age people, so those called as minors. Okay, so it's when the illegal or any antisocial behavior is committed by this minor, so that time it's called as a juvenile delinquency, as mainly it includes offense such as theft, vandalism, drug abuse, violent crimes, murders, etc. So now come to the causes of juvenile delinquency. What are the causes? Like family issues, sometimes like broken home, negligence as well as lack of the parental supervision. Now come to the peer pressure. So by influencing from the peer group or friends group, they are going to do this, they are going to commit this kind of the antisocial behavior. Now come to the socio-economic economic factor like poverty, the lack of the education as well as the unemployment. Now come to the substance abuse. So in this substance abuse like drug and alcohol use which is leading to the criminal behavior. Now come to the psychological factors, mental health issues as well as the emotional inability. Now come to the lack of the legal awareness which is mainly limited the understanding of the laws and consequences. So these all are the causes of juvenile delinquency. So now come to the social agency. So under this government agency as well as a private agency is there. So what are the government agency like United Nations Children's Welfare Fund or UNICEF which is mainly focusing on the under 5 age group of the children, right? Now come to the World Health Organization or WHO. Their main goal is promotion as well as the promotion of the health, prevention of the disease, and as well as to provide the all vaccination as well as any other treatment to the people. Now come to the United Nations Educational, Scientific and Cultural Organization or UNESCO. This is also worldwide expenditure is there. Now social welfare department which is mainly varies through country to country. Now National Institute of the Health, that is the higher authority of the Health Ministry of Welfare Program. So they are mainly collecting all the data and based on that they are taking the decisions about the promotions of the health in our community people. Now come to the Center for Disease Control and as well as the Prevention, CDC. Mainly they are playing a major role to prevent the communicable as well as the non-communicable disease. Now come to the Food and Agricultural Organization as well as the FAO. So mainly they are focusing on the food or the components of the food or gradients of the food. FSSI like agreements they are going to manage, right? Now come to the private agency or the NGO or non-governmental organization. So under this International Red Cross Society or Red Crescent Movement, then Save the Children scheme, then Amnesty International scheme, World Vision, Oxfam as well as the CARE, CARE, that is international, as well as the Habitat for Humanity. So these all are about examples of the government as well as a non-governmental agency. So I am just telling you, you just go through about each and every agency very thoroughly. From here you will get definitely either 5 marks or 2 marks question at least in once. Okay, so the each and every agency you just go through very thoroughly. Okay, so these all are about social agencies. So now I am going to enter into this the psychology. Okay, so let's start about the psychology. First is we have to know about the meaning of the psychology. So psychology is nothing but it's also one of the part of scientific study about the behavior of the humans as well as the animals, which is given by the Dr. Hem. Next, psychology is the science of the activities of individual which is mainly related or relations to the environment, which is given by the Woodworth. Next, psychology is the science of mental activity of an organism, which is given by the Guilford. So these all are about introduction about the psychology, definition about the psychology. Now come to the consciousness and pre-consciousness. What do you mean by the consciousness? Suppose you are thinking something, you are feeling something, as well as you are doing experience something, and it is going on with your conscious mind. So that time it's called as a consciousness. Means you know you are doing this, you know you are thinking this. Okay, so it's mainly you can easily that recall those things. So that is called consciousness. So conscious mind, which is refers of a thoughts, feelings as well as the experiences that we are actively aware of and easily recall. Okay, it involves like everything we are currently thinking, perceiving, touching, doing, experiencing, anything. Okay, so now come to the pre-consciousness or pre-conscious or subconscious is nothing but it's like a memories or knowledge or experiences which you gain from your past life or past life work. Okay, so that are not currently in your conscious awareness, but somewhere it is there. If you want to think, so that time you can recall, it is present in your subconscious mind and it can be brought to mind easily, which is like information that is just beneath of the surface and can be recalled when if you needed. Okay, so these all are about conscious and pre-conscious or subconscious. So now come to the branches of the applied psychology. What are the branches are there in our medical field? First is the clinical psychology, which is mainly focusing on diagnosing as well as the treating the mental health disorders. As example, like schizophrenia, depression, anxiety, OCD or anything. Now come to the counseling psychology, which is mainly helps the individual with a cope up of that particular situation. So as a nurse, when you entered as a nursing student in the nursing profession, and at that time many people or many students students, they are facing the problem to adjust with that syllabus, adjust with that particular environment. Okay, so for that time what is happening, many students they are run away from the courses, and some students they are from the colleges they are providing some counseling. Okay, so through this counseling you can able to adjust, you can cope up with that particular situation. So that is called counseling psychology. Now come to the educational psychology, like studies how people learn and apply his knowledge to improve their education and reshaping their behavior. Now is the industrial organizational psychology. It is nothing but it is also one of the branch of applied psychology, which is workplace issues like productivity as well as the employee well-being. Now come to the health psychology. It's mainly focusing on the how psychological factors affect physical health as well as the well-being of that particular people. Next come to the forensic psychology. It is a applied psychology which is mainly related with the legal issues including criminal behavior as well as the legal proceeding. Suppose one person is gone through as a intermittent way to in the like these violent diseases or violent works or criminal works etc. So that time we have to take the help about the forensic psychology. Okay, now come to the sports psychology. So under this is mainly related with the mental and emotional aspect of the athletic performance. So some athletician what they're doing, they're injecting some drugs inside of their body so to get more energetic, right? So this kind of psychology, it depends how much drugs or how much dose they are going to use. Now come to the environmental psychology, which is mainly examines the interaction between individual as well as their physical surroundings. Now come to the developmental psychology. It studies how people they are growing or developing throughout their life. Okay, now come to the community psychology, like mainly focusing on improving the well-being of the individual within the community people. So these all are about branches of applied psychology. So now we come to the id, ego and superego. This is the most important questions, id, ego and superego. So id is nothing but it's an instinctual, unconscious part of mind which is mainly focused on immediate pleasure and avoiding the pain. Okay, so that is called id. It is a instinctual. Okay, means instincting, it should be in a instinctive pathway. Next come to the ego. So ego is nothing but it's a rational as well as a conscious part that balance desires with the reality as well as consider the consequences. So based on the reality, based on the consequences, how you should reshape your structure, how you should reshape your behavior. So these all are under ego. Okay, means it's related with the reality. Now come to the superego. Superego is nothing but the moral consciousness or conscience which is internalizing the social values, and it's mainly imposing the guilt when actions don't align with the moral standards. Means you know you are overconfident with your work, but at a certain time or unfortunately it doesn't work for you, so that time you will get you can't able to accept it. So that is called superego. Okay, so this is id, ego and superego. So now come to the Maslow's hierarchy of the needs. This is also one of the most important questions, Maslow's hierarchy. So Maslow's hierarchy you have to study about the from below side to upper side, right? So first is the physiological need, safety need, belongings and the love needs, esteem needs, as and last self-actualization, right? So under this physiological needs like food, water, warmth as well as the rest or house, everything. Now safety and needs like security as well as the safety for your own purpose. Now belongingness and love needs like intimate relationship as well as friends. Next esteem needs. So in this esteem needs like prestige and feeling of the accomplishment, you have to get a job. So this kind of the, if you not get a job, it will be very prestigious for you, right? So this kind of the needs is called as a esteem needs. Now come to the self-actualization. So achieving the one's full potential, which is including the creative activities. Okay, so now physiological needs and safety needs under is a basic needs. So from belongingness to esteem needs is coming under a psychological needs, means it's maintained by your mentally healthy persons. Okay, now come to the self-fulfillment needs, that is called self-actualization. So this is the overview of Maslow hierarchy of the needs. So you just go through about the for 5 marks as well as the 10 marks or 2 marks questions. It will be very helpful for your exam. Just go through about the theory very thoroughly. Okay. So now come to the intelligence. Intelligence is also one of the important questions for the 2 marks questions. So intelligence is nothing but it's the ability to understand the complex situation, complex ideas, as well as it also helpful to adapt the effectively to the environment, and you also learn from the experience to engage in various forms of the reasoning and to overcome the obstacles which is tracking thought. Okay, so that is called about intelligence. So IQ or intelligence quotient, this equation is mental age that should be divided by the physical age, and this numerical form will be multiplied by the 100. So that is the equation. Okay, so now coming to the various scales, how you have to calculate the intelligence. First is the Whistler Adult Intelligence Scale, WAIS. Now Whistler Intelligence Scale for the children, WIAC, that is up to 10 years. Okay, so up to 10 years of the age group of baby or child, you can use this IQ level, you can measure this IQ level with this scale. Now come to the Stanford Binet Intelligence Scales, then Ravin's Progressive Matrix, next Woodcock-Johnson Test of the Cognitive Activities or Abilities. Now coming to the Cattle Culture Fair Intelligence Test, then Kumphan Assessment Battery for the children, KABC, and Differential Ability Scales, DAS. So these all are the measurement scale of the IQ level. Now coming to the development of the intelligent behavior, how it's going to develop, like genetic influences, which is mainly inherited factors play a role in a cognitive potential cases. Now coming to the environmental factors, which is mainly stimulating the environment, education, as well as the social interaction, and it also going to enhance the intelligence. Now come to the experience and then learning, so which is mainly interacting with the new challenges, problem solving cases, critical thinking cases, as well as the acquiring knowledge, which is mainly contribute to the intellectual growth of the people. Now come to the culture and then societal factors, with the education, societal expectations, as well as the cultural values, which is mainly reshaping the how intelligence is accepted as well as the developed. Okay, so that is about development of the intelligent behavior. So now coming to the defense mechanism, that is also one of the most important questions. Sometimes in 10 marks they can write it, they can ask you like explain about defense mechanism. So that time each and every topic you have to mention. Okay, if suppose 5 marks also each and every topic you have to mention, but in a concise way. But when sometimes they are asking by asking as a point wise, means as a 2 marks, define the depression, define the anxiety. So like this is coming under defense mechanism. Okay, so it is very much important for 5 marks, 10 marks or 2 marks. So defense mechanism is nothing but that is also unconscious psychological strategy which is mainly used by the individual to cope up with the anxiety, stress, as well as the emotional conflict. So they protect the ego feelings of the guilt of discomfort. So what is the defense mechanism? First is repression. Repression is nothing but pushing the distressing thoughts or memories into the unconscious mind. Means, like as an example, a person who has experienced trauma may forget about the event entirely. Like as a suppose one bad things is happened with you, so intentionally you are pushing that thoughts or memories into your subconscious mind. You don't want to think about that. Okay, so that is called repression. Now come to the denial. Denial is nothing but refusing. Suppose one bad condition is happened with you, but you are refusing it. You can't able to accept that situation or that facts whatever it's happened with you. So that time it's called as a denial. As example, a smoker refuses to acknowledge the health risk of smoking despite the clear evidence. Okay, now come to the projection. Projection is nothing but attributing one's own acceptable thoughts or feelings to someone else. Okay, so when you can't unable to accept, so that time somehow you are going to accept, or again it's coming as an unacceptable way. So that is called projection. As example, a person who is angry may cause offers of being hostile or the aggressive. At that time, like if you can't able to accept, again you are trying to accept but again you can't, so that time something bad things also you might be do. Some people they are going very aggressive mood, sometimes they committed this suicide. So this kind of called as projection. Now come to the displacement. Displacement is nothing but like redirecting the emotions from the original object to a safer or more acceptable target. Suppose when you don't want to think, but again it is coming in your mind, and you are going to divert your mind into your busy schedule, like you are doing something work or some art or drawing or anything or listening music, so like this you are trying to divert, so that is called displacement. Okay, so a person who is angry at their boss, they might be go home and take out their frustration on the family members. Now come to the rationalization. So rationalization is nothing but it's creating the logical but false explanation for behavior to justify the actions or decisions. Okay, as example, like one person go for a job and he is having more experience, but more than that, compared to him, the person who all are present there, they didn't have any experience, but they got the job. Okay, according to the job role, their profile is not suitable for that. So that time what happened, like they are explaining themselves like, okay, it's not for my place, I can get the better opportunity. So this kind of the rationalization or explanation they are giving to themselves, so that is called rationalization. As example, a student who fails a test might say, I didn't need to study, the test was unfair. Okay, so sometimes some students, they will ask you, they will see, like in supplementary examination, especially during the supplementary examination, they will say the hostel situation is not suitable for me, but I can't understand the English. So like this way they are giving you the explanation, so that is called rationalization. Now come to the sublimation. It's nothing but channeling the negative impulse or emotions into the socially acceptable behavior. At last they are come into that particular state and they are accepting and they are taking some actions. So what is the example? Someone with aggressive tendency may take up a sport like boxing or martial arts. Okay, so these all are about defense mechanism. Now come to the motive. Motive, what is the meaning of motive? It is the internal need or desire which is drives an individual to take actions or to achieve specific goals or stratify the particular needs. Okay, so under this, what is the classification? Like biological motives like survival, hunger, thirst. Now come to the psychological motive like emotional and mental illness, as example achievement as well as the self-esteem. Now come to the social motive. So under this, need for the social interaction and approval, as example love or belongingness. Now come to the instinct motive. So it's nothing but which is driven by the internal satisfaction like learning for the pleasure. Next is the extrinsic motive which is driven by the external rewards, as example money or recognition. Then last is cognitive motive which is desire for the knowledge and understanding, as example curiosity or problem solving. So these all are about classification of motive. That is also sometimes they are asked you in the 2 marks question. Now come to the learning. What do you mean by the learning? Learning is nothing but it's a process of acquiring knowledge or skills through the experience, study or the teaching method. Okay, so what is the types? Classical conditional learning which is happen through the association like Pavlov's dog. Now come to the operant conditioning which is learning through reinforcement or the punishment like rewarding the good behavior. Then observational learning. So under this, it's learning is happening by the observing others, as example the imitations as a role model. Now come to the cognitive learning which is mainly understanding and applying the information in a particular area like solving a math problem. And now come to the experimental learning which is through the reflection or experience like learning by doing. Okay, so these all are the types of learning. This is also important questions for the 2 marks. So now come to the conflict. Conflict is nothing but it's a disagreement, clash or struggle in between 2 or more parties due to difference in the beliefs, thoughts, goals, needs as well as the interest. So that is called conflict. So what are the types? Like interpersonal. Interpersonal is nothing but conflict within an individual. Next is interpersonal. Interpersonal conflict between 2 or more individual. Then group, conflict within a group. Then organizational, when conflict is happen with any kind of particular organization. Intergroup, when conflict between different groups or teams. Next, cultural, conflict due to the cultural differences. And societal, large scale conflict with a society. So these all are the types of conflict. So conflict also one of the most important questions for the 2 marks. Okay, so now come to the frustration. So what is the meaning of the frustration? Frustration is nothing but it's also one of the like defense mechanism type, that is the emotional response when occurs as like individual is blocked from achieving a goal or fulfilling a desire, and it results from obstacles, unmet expectations as well as the challenges which is hindered their progress. So that is called frustration. So now coming to the sources. External obstacles like environmental barrier or situation, sometimes family or sometimes socio-economic factor, traffic, weather, anything. Now come to the internal obstacles. personal limitation with lack of the skills, knowledge or the resources. Now is the unmet expectation. Unmet expectation is nothing but like disappointment when goals or desires are not realized as anticipated. Now come to the interpersonal conflict, which is struggles or misunderstandings is there with the other, which create the barriers to the success. Now come to the time pressure, like the stress and frustration which is caused by the deadlines or the time constraints. Then lack of the control, feeling the helpless when unable to influence the outcomes or situations. Next, failure, which is repeated the attempt that lead to unsuccessful outcomes. And societal or environmental factor, which is unfavorable social and environmental condition, as example the poor living condition. So these all are the sources of frustration. Okay, so now come to the personality. So what is the personality? It refers as a unique state of the traits, behavior, emotion and then thought pattern which is defined an individual and influence how they interact with each other or the world. So that is called personality. Means how you are showing your behavior or you are going to represent yourself in front of the society. So that is called personality. So what are the types of personality? Type A. So under this type A, it is characterized by ambition, competitiveness, urgency as well as the high stress level. Then type B, it is more relaxed, less competitive and less driven by the stress. Type C personality, it is characterized by being detail oriented, thoughtful and introverted with a tendency to suppress the emotion. And type D, knowing for being more negative, socially inhibited as well as all time anxious, and they are also avoiding the social situation. So these all are the types of personality. That is also one of the most important questions for the 2 marks. So characteristics of personality. What are the characteristics? That is consistency. Personality is mainly tends to remain the over time and in the various situation. Now come to the uniqueness. So every individual is having the personality and that is very much unique. Okay, that makes them the different from others. Now come to the behavioral expression. So in this behavioral expression, like personality is reflected in how individuals think, how they are acting and how they are interacting with each other. Now come to the influence on the life. So personality mainly influence on the individual's choice, relationship as well as overall the life experiences. And now come to the development. So personality develops over time and it will be reshaping by the genetic factors, environment as well as the life experiences. So these all are about characteristics of the personality. So now come to the memory. So what do you mean by the memory? Memory is the process of encoding, storing as well as retrieving the information. So now come to the types of the memories. First is the sensory memory, like brief storage of the sensory input like within a few seconds. Next is a short term memory or estimate which holds the information temporarily for immediate use up to 30 seconds. Next, long term memory, when this stores the information for a longer period of time. Explicit memory is nothing but it's a consciousness, like episodic or the semantic memory, means when you need that time you are restoring, when you don't want you delete, again you need, again you restore, again you delete it. So like this way it is called explicit. Now come to the implicit. Implicit nothing but like unconscious, procedural as well as the conditional. So based on the when you need that time only you are storing, again you are sending it to the unconscious mind. Now come to the working memory. So holds and manipulates information for the cognitive task. So these all are about types of memory. Okay, so now come to the importance of the psychology in the nursing. Why it's important? It's mainly enhance the patient care by addressing the physical and emotional need, which improves the communication with patient, family and colleagues. Then identifies the signs of stress, anxiety, depressions for the patient, which is mainly helpful for understanding and managing the patient behavior based on their cultural beliefs, values. It's mainly helps in our assist in stress management as well as the preventing burnout. It's mainly foster empathy for the stronger patient connections and aids in conflict resolution for the positive outcome. So this is the importance of the psychology for the nurses. Okay, so now come to the characteristics of mentally healthy person. That is also one of the most important topic for the 5 marks questions or 2 marks questions. So what is the mentally healthy person? When a person is very alignment, very healthy, mentally well-being person, they can able to manage every situation, so that time we can consider as a mentally healthy person. Like, so what what are the characteristics? First, they have ability to make the adjustment, they has a sense of personal worth, feels worthwhile as well as the important, then solves his problem by their own selves, by largely by his own efforts or making his own decisions, as well as they has a sense of person security and feel secure in a group, show understanding of their other people's problem as well as taking the motivation, and has a sense of the responsibility. So these all are the characteristics of the mentally healthy person. So when they ask you about the 5 marks question regarding the characteristics of mentally healthy person, so for them you just take it out the point and write it your own way. Okay, so these are the main point about the characteristics of mentally healthy person. So thank you, hope you all understood my session. Again we will meet in next session. Till that, keep learning and stay tuned with the easiness. So in this session I discussed about psychology and sociology important topics. Go through about these topics and just go thoroughly, you just study about those topics, and obviously you will get with a good scorer in your academic year. Thank you.